Computerized Start is brought to you by my awesome patrons on Patreon, and by your tips and memberships on Ko-fi. These and other channel supporters make my live streams possible. You too can become a channel supporter with tiers starting at just $1. And as always, thank you for all your support, including sharing, chatting, liking, and subscribing. Now roll that famous logo animation! Good evening and welcome back to Computerized Start Live. I'm your host, Justin D. Morgan. There's a box in front of my monitor, so I just about didn't even see the fact that I needed to unmute myself. However, I do know that when I forget to unmute myself, you all let me know whether or not I'm paying attention to the chat. Roar, of course, always pays attention to the chat. Let's see here who we have in the chat who may be paying more attention to the chat than I am. We have Thomas Armstrong. Hi, Thomas. We have Francois. Hi, Francois. We have Kevin. Hi, Kevin. We have Mark Anning. Hi, Mark. We have Hardware Hacker. Hi, Hardware Hacker. We have CMD Big Mike. Hi, Big Mike. We have Game Daco 4. Hi, Alexander. Welcome. And we have Jesse, I8386SX. Hi, Jesse. All right, we got the Coffee Goal links in the description. I will not be streaming next week. Want to go ahead and make sure I make that announcement. So if you see the fact that I have no live stream scheduled for next week, it's because I will not be streaming next week. I am taking the week off. And let's see here. I think without further ado, maybe I should just go ahead and play an important announcement. Because I did mention there's a box on my bench. A box. I wonder what the box could be.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for our favorite segment, Wheel of Regrets. Here's your host, Justin D. Morgan.
Hey, who comes up with these titles anyway?
Who comes up with these titles indeed? All right, we have a box from, at first, when I looked at the label, I thought it was from Jamaica. Then I realized I ordered it from a US-based seller, and I'd probably better look at the label again. And I realized it actually came from Massachusetts. So, hi to all my eBay sellers and viewers in Massachusetts. And in Jamaica, I guess, but I don't know any eBay sellers there. We have Retro Tech Chris. Hi, Chris. All right, we have one box tonight. I am rationing boxes. Although, if I told you how many total boxes are in the potential regrets pile, it would be 2, so... So, yeah. Haven't bought that many regrets this month. So let's see here what we have. This could indeed be a potential regret. Oh yeah, I'm already seeing signs that this was not packed the way I expected it was going to be packed. All right. So we have in this box. We have floppy disks, and we have more floppy disks, and we have even more floppy disks, and we have a confused eBay buyer here. Okay. We will continue, and then I will let you know why I am a confused eBay buyer here. All right, and then we do have a stack of printed materials, which my box is going to collapse if I set them on the box. So let me set these off to the side momentarily. Then I will get these back on the bench. In fact, the floppy disks are about to fall over. Let me set them to the side. There's something that I was expecting would be in the box, and it does not appear to be in here. Oh, yes. And then there is that. And Jesse says, good grief, more peanuts. Yes, I was going to make fun of the line from the Lord of the Rings movie where Samwise Gamgee is describing all the Latmus bread they have. We have more Latmus bread. Yes, except this is not Latmus bread, it is floppy disks. I was expecting the floppy disks. I was expecting the printed material. I was expecting this. But as you might infer by the fact that I was confused, you might assume that I was expecting there would be something else in the box. Maybe not necessarily something consequential. Oh, okay. Now I see where my confusion lies. I forgot what the picture showed. Okay, there is actually nothing else that was supposed to be in the box. I was just confused because I had looked at mini auction photos. I will let you all guess in the chat what I thought might be included. Your clues are that I was not expecting it to be packaged the way it was. And no, the Trident card is in the mail. Before anyone thinks, the answer was there was supposed to be a Trident card in this box. That, my friends, has not arrived yet. Because Hardware Hacker says a Trident card or a VIC-20. Hi, Rudy. Welcome. All right. So the first item that we have here, which we will test tonight, we have a lovely half-height floppy drive. It was made by TechMate Elect Incorporated in Taiwan. It has a 20-pin ribbon cable, and it is for an Apple II or clone. So there we go. Chris says, I bought a $5 Cirrus Logic at the swap meet. Actually, I've been watching some Trident cards on eBay, and I waited for the seller to make their best offer, and I don't remember exactly what the offer they made me was, but it was somewhere around like $5 to $10. I wait for the cheap Trident cards. They're the most potential regretful. Chris says, and I just realized VCF Southwest is in 2 weeks. Yes, all right. So the next item that was in the box, we had a bunch of printed material, which let's see what this is, because I'm hoping that there might be matching boxes. But we have a manual for MusicWorks. We have a manual for PFS file. And I guarantee you some of these were not why I bought it. We have a Build Your Own Macintosh and Save a Bundle first edition book. Chris is wondering if anyone else is going to be at VCF Southwest. Actually, this book is in really good shape. This is like really clean. So I can now build my own cat Mac because I have the book. Actually, sometimes books like this can be very handy in figuring out what various components are, because there's lots of data in the book. And also it's cool on how to build your own Mac. But there are details in some books like this that are lost to time. So that's actually a really nice edition of this book. So I think I've got the second edition hidden somewhere in one of my bookshelves. We have a... Oh! An ergotron means productivity. Looks like this might have been included in something someone bought at some point. Dear Macintosh user, thank you for requesting information on Ergotron's complete line of products for Macintosh computer users. Interesting. Might have to see if this has been archived, because actually that's in pretty good shape. Well, I have I do have scanners too. It's just time can be limited. There we go. We have a manual for Hayden Speller. I don't know if that'll necessarily make me spell any better. Oh, looky here. I now have a book to put beside my bed. The ABCs of DBase 3 Plus by Robert Cowart. I mean, I've been looking for a book that will just put me right to sleep, and I'm sure this one's it. Sorry, DBase 3 fans. Oh, there we go. We have a manual for Copy 2 Plus Mac, including a serial number in it. Cool. Woohoo. Don't copy that floppy. Or in this case, maybe do. We have a manual for Mac the Knife. I have no idea what this does. And we have a book, Mac Telecommunications. Because nothing says telecommunications like Mac Telecommunications. All right. Jesse says, when Benadryl or Tylenol PM doesn't put you to sleep, read that book. Yeah. Harder Hacker says, you mean copy 11 Mac. Yeah. I actually still occasionally will find episodes of the $100,000 pyramid on YouTube, and I'll watch them, and I still haven't found one that tops the one episode that I managed to be watching where the contestant wins a home computer. Of course, they put everything in quotes, so they win a home computer. And then during the end of the show, where the announcer is revealing what the contestants won, or I guess it might have been at the end of the game. Yeah, the announcer announces it as the Apple 11C home computer. Yeah, classic. All right, and now let's see what floppy disks were actually in this auction lot, because not all of them were visible. In fact, I only know of a few that should be in here. Some of these are going to be a huge mystery. I might have gone full on potential regrets for this one, because for all I know, there could be a lot of sadness here. All right, so for the first deck of floppy disks, we'll, all right, we will go through these fairly quickly, and maybe at some future point I will actually attempt to read and archive them. No, I do not have an applesauce, but hopefully a grease weasel will be an acceptable substitute. All right, we have a dollars and cents disc, version 1.2. I'm sure all of these were legitimate backup copies at some point. All right, we've got a dev disk with Max Bug. All right, that could be interesting. It looks like they reused a disk because there's a label under it. Oh, interesting. It looks like it was from the original disk was from a Macintosh users group. Huh. I can't tell what one, though. Maybe we'll have a clue somewhere else. All right, there's MusicWorks. Oh, MusicWorks, I believe, was one of the programs that we had a manual for. Music files. Now, where's 1-bit when you need to talk music? I don't know that anyone would ever know what to do with that disk. Big startup, little Excel. Probably bootable. There we go. We have Red Rider. Telecommunications software. We have Miss Works. We have Miss Word. We have PD Fonts A. Maybe that's public domain. I don't know. MacWrite 4.5. Ms. Basic B. PD Fonts B. Hardware Hacker says that reminded me of Stuff It. Jesse says Police Department's Fonts A. oh, the logo. Kind of reminds me of the Lone Ranger, but we've got paintings. We have Logic Works. Laser Writer Install. Oh, the left one. Okay. Pascal Utilities. Mac Pascal Book. MISC Utilities number 2. Mac Draw. Mac Draw. Another version. There we go. Mac Terminal. I think this person was possibly into telecommunications, CompuServe macros. Well, that's not going to... that may not be that useful, although maybe I could be surprised. Spellmaster Book. I think they needed to write or run Spellmaster on their disk label. Oh, there we go. Mac and Talk. Interesting. All right. Not sure that there's any rare gems in that pile. But you never know. And actually, an old dev disk could be interesting, but it also could just be the a disk from a programming book that's been archived. All right, so let's see what we got in the second pile. That predecessor to Plain Talk, yes. All right, so I'm trying to leave them in the order that they got stacked in for shipping. All right. We have Red Rider 9.2. We have Tycoon 1.0. Tycoon of what? I don't know. We'll find out at some point. We have Baron 1.0. We have Gato 1.3. Sargon 3 Computer Chess. We have Games A. We have Games 4. All right. I'm sure that's going to annoy someone that they used numbers and letters. We have Games 5. Yeah. We have Games B. We have Games 3. We have MacWrite Punt Drawer. Buck. Was I able to fix the RAM issue? No. That's where we'll continue once we get done with Wheel of Regrets. Yeah, I'm sure that's MacWrite, MacPaint, MacDraw. Oh, we have X-L 1.0. I have no idea what that could be. Hi, Socket Wrench, welcome. I am flipping my furniture in a rage as we speak. We have XLISP 1.4. I bet those might be related. Looks like I missed the show. Oh, yeah, we're in Wheel of Regrets. We have Bookup 2. Oh, that's actually a high-density disk. We have Basic Progs. Soccer says XLisp, oh dear. We have Mac, FileMaker 2. Super Paint 1.0. F keys and DAs. All right. I guess this the district attorneys goes with the police department fonts discs. We have Mac Stuff 1 and Fedit. Actually, I'm joking. I'm sure that's actually desk accessories. But to go with the joke, what the PD fonts discs were. We have Test Demo includes layout. Wow, someone took some effort to make a cool looking label. That's dedication there. Oh, there we go. Mac Project Original. I mean, not that the Apple label didn't kind of give it away. Jesse says, I like District Attorney better. Oh, there we go. We got Macware Fact Finder for Apple Macintosh. No, really? I thought we'd have Fact Finder for PC from Macware. Uh-oh. Hardware Hacker's gonna want that one. Hacker's Disk. Sakarid says, or so archaeologists tell us. Well, I haven't dropped any frames according to OBS, but Sakarid says, that's where I put it. Yeah. All right, we'll see if there's anything else. I would like to know that maybe there's maybe a gem or two somewhere in these discs, and not just like Red Rider 7.0. I'm trying to remember what Red Rider was exactly, but I think was it like BBS software? I want to say it was software for running a BBS, but I want to say it was either software for running a BBS or dialing into a BBS. One or the other, but that's the third version of Red Rider we found. Oh, there we go. There's Hayden Speller. We had the manual for that. Oh, Sakarid says, I got all of Ellingston Minerals garbage file. Yeah. Well, there's another version of Red Rider. Oh, there's Mac the Knife. Fonts. That's what that was. It's fonts. This person seemingly was into music, telecommunications, and fonts. And Ellingston Mineral. Back to Gibson, yeah. Well, there's our copy to Mac disc. What's on this one? Various communication packages. Oh, there we go. This might be a clue as to what computer they were running this with. System update. System 3.1, Finder 5.2, IW 2.2, Image Writer 2.2. Interesting. That means nothing right offhand. Maybe someone in the chat will recognize what that would have run on. Given these are 800K discs, I'm thinking a Plus or earlier. Microsoft Basic Backup. Design Scope Utilities. Hardware Hacker says Steve might know. Yeah, Steve would have probably just told me right off the bat, like, of course, it's a Mac 512K. Enhanced. Resource editors. I'd have to look it up. Laser Writer fonts. Socket Wrench says, I was going to say a 512K. That would kind of be my guess. The edit disk. Given the overwhelming number of 800 of double density disks. MISC utilities. Maybe res edit? I don't know. Could be cool. Font utilities. They really like their fonts. ROM code 2. Of course, it could be ROM code 11. I don't know. RE templates multi-plan. Kind of think they might have liked planning, too. DMAC 3 backup. Airborne. I'm presuming that might be a game. Design scope, no system. Beat Me to It, released in 1986. Yeah. Mac Stuff 2. PD Desk Accessories number 1. Oh, there's more police department stuff. PD Boston 11. Or 2, I don't know. File. I bet that said file smelter, but I'm like, flight simulator copy. Yeah, I noticed that on some of these discs. Some of these discs do have red write protect tabs, and I don't know why. I do not know why, but file smelter. No, I'm pretty sure that's flight simulator. Woo! And last but not least, we found where their RAM is. Wait a minute. That's neat. This disc is like... Oh, yeah, you might be right. Easier to notice. Huh. That is... Yeah, I'm here staring at these HP discs. I didn't realize that they've got a different write protect tab. It's like they're designed to write data to it and then write protect it. And it looks like write protecting is intended to be a permanent operation with these. Yeah. Oh, it's also a single-sided disc. Oh, you know, I wonder if whoever owned these discs had a 128 and then had Apple upgrade it to a 512. Because that might explain why they have some single-sided discs, although maybe they did format them as double-sided. Oh, yeah, also, yeah, I did also note that the access port is rounded. That is neat. But anyways, all right, that's Wheel of Regrets. Will I actually regret what's on these discs? I don't know. Tune in for some future stream, because I'm going to set these to the side for now, and we'll get back to not computer. We'll get back to the Apple IIe so we can get back to computer. All right, let me grab a box here, and I'll stick these floppy disks in a small box here, and then yeah, Harder Hacker says, if nothing else, it's a cool floppy for being physically different. Yeah, I will attempt to archive these disks, or at least read them, to see if there's any software on them that hasn't been archived. And possibly, yeah, it may be a case of there, maybe there's some versions that are in here that haven't been archived. Because there was multiple programs that were in that lot that had multiple programs with multiple versions. All right. So now, let's get back to the Apple IIe. And see here. All right. So I attempted to try to figure out what might be causing the problem we're seeing on the Apple IIe. So as a recap, I think when we left off, I was trying to boot the memory test software, and I ran into a problem where the original disk controller card doesn't seem to be working correctly, and I think I'm going to plug it in. So I can remember what the symptoms were. So anyways, I've got the Apple floppy drive plugged into the original disk controller card. Will power up, and I don't remember if it tries to seek the drive or not. That's the part I haven't I couldn't remember because I was trying to post something to Facebook. So it's going to actually let me go ahead and put a disk in the drive just in case it actually does start to boot. So 3, 2, 1. Okay, so it does do a track 0 seek. And then it just spins. Yeah, it's okay. Okay. I was trying to post to a Apple II Facebook group a question. Sorry, I slung one of my 5 1/4 inch discs onto the floor because I'm a klutz. I wanted to get it off the floor because it was precariously close to my foot. And it's my DOS 3.3 boot disk. All right. So this disk controller card's the one that came with this Apple IIe, and it just simply track 0, forced to track 0, and then it just spins. Hey, I'm not sure what could cause that, but I'll go post to the Facebook group the symptoms, and maybe while we're streaming, someone will recognize them and share. Although we're about to start pulling chips out of the original card and see if we can find the bad one. Anyways, this is the disk controller card out of my Apple II Plus. I figured I would go ahead and try it to see it should work. If I can turn the power supply on. Okay, yep, it booted into Computer Inspector. I need to fix the RCA jack on. All right. Yeah, I gotta fix the RCA jack on this Apple IIe. But anyways, so we do boot into Computer Inspector with the controller card from my Apple II. So now let's see. Now that we know I've got a good controller card that I could pull parts from, let's take a look at the common logic chips on the bad card. All right. So it looks like the Apple II controller card has a 74LS174, a 74LS132, a 74LS05, which I think some people did say that that was a... Oh, I could read the silk screen. That would be a lot clearer. Yeah, we have a 74LS174, 74LS132, 74LS05, 74LS259, and a 74LS323, along with an NE556 timer, the dual timer, and 2 proms. Oh, I wonder if this 74S 470. Oh, hold on. I'm looking at the number that's on the prom. It's a 74. $547. I'm gonna see if maybe by chance. Okay, I don't think this supports the prom. So, anyways, we'll test the logic chips. So I'll do these in order. We'll start with the 74 LS05. And I guess what I'll do is first I'll try to find my chip remover. I prefer to try to remove these in an orderly fashion. Oh, there it is. All right. I'll put the chip in the chip tester, and we'll see what it says. All right. Well. All right. We'll do this way. So first, I'm just going to go through all the logic chips, and I'll test them. And we'll see if anything tests bad. And if that fails, then we'll swap chips, starting with the proms. Because I've been told they're a common failure point. All right, so the next one we'll test is the 132. And we'll do them in order because that's the easiest way to scroll. Whoops. All right, 74, 132. All right, well, that one appears to be okay. All right, so the next one in order is going to be the 174. Okay, there we go. 6-bit dual flip-flop. Ah. All right. All right, we'll talk to you later, hardware hacker. Good luck with your mod duties on another channel. I know that is an important job. So, yep. Let's see here. We got a 74 LS259. I think. There we go. Yeah, the 259 is in this menu, and then for the 320, what is it? 323, I do have to go to another menu. I am beginning to think it is probably one of the proms. All right, and then for the oops, oops yeah, 300. So it was a 323. Oh, there it is. Bit shift register. Although there are some transistors on the board. All right, so now we're down to the 556 timer and the proms. All right, I do not believe. Okay. Okay, let me look the manual for the retro chip tester real quick. Let me double check that Wrong manual. I'm going to double check that there is not a setting for these proms. Manuals. Let me see here. Wrong directly. Let's see here. All right. And make sure I can have the best chance of finding the prom in the list. Let me. So it is a 74 S471, I believe, is the part number of that prom. So let me see. 74 470. There we go. It is a. Ah. Oh, I can test it. It's 74S 271 or 470. Oh, very good. You can actually test this. Okay. Here we go. So I can test the proms and we'll get a checksum. There we go. That's the setting that I believe we use according to the manual. And all right, we'll take P. What we may have to do is we may have to read this and then read the one from the other card and see what the checksums are. B7 2A 2C70. Let's see if it's consistent. B7 2A 2C70. Okay. All right. B7 2A 2C70. All right. So I'm going to. Oh, hey, Mike's Future Retro. Welcome. All right. So let's then take the prom out of my known working card. That's in the same position. And we should get the same checksum. All right. Very good. B7 2A 2C70. All right. So that prom is probably not to blame. All right. there's little sense of swapping them between the two cards. All right, so I'm going to try this prom. This is the good working card. So I will check, since I've got its card in my hand, I will check its prom, and then we will check the one that was in the bad card. So 83, 32, 56 FF. Okay. That should be a good checksum. Hi, Kevin. If I didn't already say hi to you, I don't remember. Welcome. Oh, welcome back, Hardware Hacker. All right, so let's see what this prom checksum says. 83, 32, 56 FF. All right, so it does not appear to be the proms. Interesting. Then the only thing we're left with are a couple transistors and a 556 timer. Okay. I don't believe I have any spare 556 timers. Although, I might. I think I've got some scrap disc controller cards, but they're not socketed. All right, so I'm going to take this 556 timer out of this card. This is the bad card, the one that's not working. I'm going to take the 556 timer out of this board. So the working card's 556 timer is a Motorola. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to put the possibly bad 556 timer in this card. So if this doesn't work now, the only thing I've changed is the 556 timer. And that might be our culprit. So 3, 2, 1. Okay. So probably not the 556 timer. Although I will now try the broken card with the working card's 556 timer. And the reason I'm going to do this is, well, I have, oh, you can't see what I'm doing. I have effectively now removed and reseated all the chips. So if there was some oxidation issue on the card, well, believe it or not, the broken card's now working. All right, the only thing I did was swap 556 timers. So now I'm going to undo that. And that actually should actually, it should still work, because I'm wondering if now it was just oxidation in one of these sockets. Despite the fact that my working Apple II Plus card looks to be in worse shape in terms of oxidation than the one that was in this Apple IIe. All right, 556 timer back in. Whoa. It's the 556 timer. Did you notice it I think the 556 timer on this disk controller card's marginal. Well, I guess that I don't know what I need to fix it, but it looks like it's working for now. Yeah, the timer died of dysentery. The timer might have died of dysentery. Terry can be, and the reason why I think it might be a marginal 555 timer is, although it seems to have started working after I basically inserted and removed it, or removed it and inserted it. If you, when I put the original timer back on this card, it took a little bit of extra time before it started actually booting. So I'm thinking the 555 timer might be marginal, and maybe removing it and reinserting got rid of some oxidation that was. Actually, I'm looking at. $909. Oh, wow. Well, that'll be a shame to replace it. It's a chip from 77, but. Yeah, I think it's marginal, so. Maybe I can, maybe. I'm wondering if I have it. I may have some 556 timers, now that I think about it. All right, we'll see you later, hardware hacker. All right, well, anyways, I think now I figured out what's wrong with this original disk controller. I think it will probably cooperate to actually boot the computer. So I'm going to put connect my floppy emu to it. And now we don't have the reason why we were trying to fix that in the first place is the clone disk controller card I have interferes with the no slot clock that's under this ROM because the card is too long, and I really wanted to make sure we had a well-seated disk controller card for running diagnostics. So now that we've got that in, we've got our Saturn card in, we should be able to boot. Kevin says, this month is the 55th anniversary of the 555 timer. It was celebrated May 5th. All right, so it looks like we are booting the RamWorks diagnostic. All right, and we do see that we have a Saturn card. All right, so I think we are on bank 1. Well, that looks like we're on. Oh, you can't see the LED. Oh, you still can't see the LEDs. All right. Interesting. Okay, you can't see the screen. These LEDs are supposed to be bank number, and they seemingly are not corresponding with what the diagnostic program's doing. Hmm. Yeah, the LEDs. So we're supposedly testing block B 64K. The bank LEDs have just stopped being bank LEDs. They're not showing anything. Yeah, I'm. Of course, now that I think about it, I think we did get this RamWorks running at the end of the last stream. Now that I think about it, it's doing the same thing. Hmm. Yeah, that is weird. The According to the manual, this should show the bank. And there's 8 banks on the board, and RamWorks is corroborating that there are 8 banks on the board. But seemingly, if I run the test, all right, so it's testing bank 1 now is what the software says on the screen. And it hasn't gone on to bank 2, and the bank LED's changed. And now it looks like a different. Yeah, I am not convinced. The card is decoding addresses correctly. Because there's where we are in the software. We haven't made it to bank 3 yet, and seemingly LEDs, we've gone through more banks. This I think's just the read write LED. These are the bank ones. And that is why I'm thinking the card fails in computer, because computer actually tries to use what I presume is bank 1 for the 16K of RAM. And I'm thinking that it's changing banks without being commanded. Now, why this RAM test doesn't fail, I don't know. Maybe it's changing what memory's written. The bank switch happens on a write instead of a command to change banks. So the memory test passes because we did write the value to memory, even though it got written to a different address than it intended. Because I'm pretty sure the way this card works is the software is going to have to tell it what bank to access. Given there's some IO, there should be some addresses on the bus that are for each slot, and I'm presuming it's using one of those to write a bank to the card, which then the logic chips on the card should latch. We haven't got to computer yet because I'm still trying to figure out what's wrong with this Saturn clone card. I don't think it's bank switching correctly. We also spent time trying to troubleshoot the disk controller card that was in this Apple IIe. I think I finally figured out I got a marginal 556 timer on it, which is why it wasn't running software. But yeah, it should be bank switching because the memory test is still running, but it seemingly has stopped switching banks. Unless there's like, no, it's not just the fact. I don't know. I'm tempted to pull this card out and see if we can identify if there's a. Yeah, I'm gonna pull the card out. Let's see if we can identify a latch. One of these logic chips on it as being a latch. This would be where it could be handy if... Alright, so I'm going to try to zoom in as close as I can and show as many of the logic chips as I can. So that's a 175 down in this corner. There we go. I think... Oh, maybe if I did it this way, it would be a bit easier to read. Except the card wants to fall over, so it's going to make it hard for me to search. All right. All right. So, all right. I am also going to try to search. We'll see if I can maybe just find a list of them. Wikipedia. Well, there we go. I think Wikipedia's got a list. All right. All right. So let's see here. There's an 00 and a 08 and 02. So an 00 is a quad 2-input NAND gate. An 02 is a 2-input NOR gate. An 08 is a quad 2-input AND gate. All right, so those aren't latches. There's a 51. That's a dual 2-input and or invert gate. Okay, that's not a latch. 74. That's a dual D positive edge triggered flip flop, asynchronous clear, and preset. Okay, I don't know that that's necessarily the latch. Memory multiplexers, Thomas asks. 373, 244, 245, 595. I don't think it's a multiplexer issue. I think it's a latch issue. I think the latch is not latching. 107. The dual JK flip flop. Okay, that's not it. $175. Oh, that's a 132, 170. 132 and 175. Let me see. 132 is a dual 2-input NAND gate. 175 is a quad D edge trigger flip flop shared clock and asynchronous clear. That's... Oh, there we go. These two These two chips here could be acting as a latch. So there's two we need to test. Because these are dual flip flops with those are 4 input. Those are, what's this chip named? That is a quadruple D type flip flop. And the datasheet says applications include buffer, storage registers, shift registers, pattern generators. So those might actually be, Thomas says it could be relying on the motherboard. Well, I guess that's also possible, but I don't remember what this chip was, but I marked over top of it for ease of identification. That was smart. Let me see what a 266 is. That's an XNOR gate. All right. Well, I really don't think it's using a latch that's on the motherboard. I mean, it could be. Honestly, I kind of thought that a lot of these memory cards worked by you wrote a bank into the card, and that's how it knew what page of memory to. I don't know that there's schematics of this card available, so I'm just guessing. All right. Oh, hi, Sedmac. Welcome. But we're not memory testing, we're logic chip testing. Because this card does not behave the way I expect it to when you run a memory test on it. Well, the memory test claims the memory on this card is good, but the bank LEDs do not match what the software is saying it is testing. Which is why I was looking for a latch on the card, thinking that if there were a latch on this card and the latch was bad, then maybe that might explain why the LEDs and thus maybe the banking behavior was not working correctly. But I don't know. I'm getting confused by this card because there are no schematics, and the 74 LS 93 is the one that I had to erase part of the check mark. See what it is? Because oh, it's a 4-bit binary counter. Separate, divide by 2, and divide by 8 sections. Interesting. It's a 4-bit binary counter. And it still seems to... Yeah, something's wonky. Alright, well that one works. Yeah, for anyone wondering, if it tells you a position number for the chip, you have to offset the chip in the ZIF socket. So it's telling me position 4. That's why pin 1 is at position 4. Just as a pro tip for the retro chip tester. MC. All right, let me see if by chance this MC3242 is supported. I I will be shocked if it is, but all right, let me search. MC3242. No. Um no, it is not in the list of logic chips. I didn't think it would be, but let me see if it's a pin compatible with another part by chance. Memory address multiplexer, so it may not be supported, but no, okay. Yeah, I really I'm stumped why the card does not. All right, I guess what I'm going to have to do is let me see if there's any of that chip on eBay, the place where I buy the things I later regret. Oh, there we go. All right, well, there's one seller selling them. A lot of two for $16.98. Or I could buy one for $4.25 plus $9 shipping. Two for $16.98 free delivery. I think maybe I'll just pick up the two for $16.98. Since I can't test the chip. Oh, wait a minute. Here's a seller that's selling also in the US. Oh yeah, they got two for $6. There we go. That's my ticket. All right. So I guess that's probably what I'll do. I'll order a replacement Motorola chip because I can't test it, and it is an address decoder, so it is possible that that's the fault. I also know that there was the one socket that I thought I needed to replace, but the RAM chip is making contact. We determined that last time. So I don't know. Now, the one other question I had for myself, and this is where I'm going to have to go back to a live stream here. I don't remember for computer. So I believe it was a week ago. A week ago, we were looking at computer, and you can tell that I was trying to watch my own live stream, which apparently I did not click play. Oh, maybe I did click play. Because I was trying to figure out something here. So in computer, we have a 6502 processor. And we were trying to run tests on computer, and at one point we were getting stuck with it claiming there was a 0-page error. I can't remember. Did I replace the chat or not? Not the chat. Replace the CPU or not? So if you will bear with me. All right, let's see here. So it looks like. Wait a minute. Ooh, is that. Am I doing what I thought I was doing? So. All right, I put the. That's my dead test ROM board I just put in. And we have a 0-page error. I think I may have scrolled past it. Because I sure thought I saw a frame where I had my hands around the CPU socket. Because the thing is, on my padded foam, I have a partially inserted 6502, although I just removed it. But it was stuck into the foam partially, and I was wondering, is this what was in computer, or is the one in computer what was in computer? As in, was I just using this for test, or did I leave the replacement CPU in? Thomas says, I think you did change a CPU. And I know I did swap a CPU, but I'm trying to remember, did I leave it in? As in, which is... And, of course, my live stream, I am going at breakneck speed here. All right, let me see if I can... So there's where I was running memtest. I got a 0-page error. Oh, I'm looking at RAM chips. Okay, so that's where I was testing the RAM chips. And, all right. Oh, wait, no, I replaced RAM chips. Sorry, I was going the wrong direction. And then I think all right. Hold on. I want to see. That's where I'm. Because I'm trying to figure out why the 0-page error suddenly went away. Oh, okay. There's where I very clearly remove a CPU. So I'm going to. All right. So, all right. So, bear with me. Okay, so we have a Signetic CPU in computer, and I can't even see it well enough to. Oh, maybe I could go full screen here. No, YouTube. I really don't want the chat in this view. Okay, let's hold that thought. So, the CPU that I took out of my Apple II Plus board, I think was where it came from, is the one that was in my hand a moment ago. Because actually, I think they're both Signetics processors. All right. Let's see what I do here. The reason I think the one that's in my hand came from the Apple II Plus is I'm looking at the silk screen on the bottom, and it looks like a match, complete with silk screen rub off in a few spots. But I'm hoping here right about. Oh, also the one that was in computer is a bit glossier plastic. Okay. So apparently I did swap CPUs because I put this one in, but I put the original back. So that does, okay. So that answers my question. I did try a CPU change, but I put the one back. All right. Bummer. So if you ask me, I still can't explain why computer started working, because all right, well, okay, that answered that question. So computer has its original CPU back. The 0-page error that was on computer went away. This card, there's like seemingly some logic error on it. Or at least that's my best guess as to why it doesn't work. Why computer fails when I put this card in slot 1. Okay. I am stumped. Like I can't well, I guess there is one thing we can do. All right. So, I seemingly still have the fault on the Saturn card. I'm not exactly sure what it is because I don't have a way of testing all the chips. I don't have a replacement for chips I can't test. All right. One last thing we can do, and I'll use the Apple IIe because computer is setting off to the side, is we can test this floppy drive here using this Apple IIe just out of convenience. So, there we go. The eBay seller says it was tested, although we all know what tested means on eBay. The light turned on. It must work. Alright, so I'm going to take one of these. Let's see if I got a... Oh, there we go. Alright, so I got a cleaning disc here. I am going to clean the... Oh, I pulled the bottle of cleaning solution out of this box As if I expected it was still going to contain isopropyl alcohol after all these years. Oh, that's cool, though. It had it used a dropper. Alright, so I am going to try to use the dropper that came with it. Oh, no, the dropper, no, the dropper also does not work after all these years. Alright, then I will very carefully put a drop of isopropyl alcohol on the disc. There we go. I mostly succeeded in getting the drop of isopropyl alcohol on the cleaning disc. All right, we will put that in this drive. That way, the first power up will be a cleaning attempt. 3, 2, 1. I mean, it's spinning. All right. Okay. So I think we've cleaned the heads. The drive sounds okay. Cleaning discs don't necessarily sound the greatest all the time, so I'm not too worried about what it sounded like yet. All right, let me grab Computer Inspector. We will let the... Oh, I'm zoomed in too much. We'll let the isopropyl flash off the heads for a moment here. Thomas says, tested and built on a Friday at 5:30 p.m. And Jesse says, or Monday at 8 a.m. Sadmax says, or otherwise right before the deadline, yeah. All right, so hopefully now, if I put Computer Inspector in and turn the computer on, oh, there we go. There we go. We have an Apple IIe, and let me see. We will run the disk drive tests. Let me see. I should have a blank disk in this box I can use for these tests. Yep, there we go. All right, so if I do drive speed here, it should tell me to insert a blank or use disk. Press spacebar. Oh, wow, nice. That's nice and solid. All right. All right, so we'll run the general operation test. I think this drive has a track 0 sensor. This drive seems to be functioning properly. All right, spacebar. All right. That's good. Let me just make sure we can run. Oh, I think Computer Inspector is loaded into memory. All right. Well, that's good. All right, let's perform one more test on this floppy drive before I certify that it is computer ready. I just wanted to see if it loaded other programs. Thomas says that's not Choplifter. Sure, let's see how points are earned. I don't know that I have Choplifter. Yeah, the person that made me these discs sent me Load Runner and Frogger. I bought Oregon Trail off eBay. I might have to create myself a Choplifter disc. Whoops! I bumped the Apple IIe, and now, of course, the... oh, well. Okay, the display's going wonky. I'm going to have to fix that. But anyways, the floppy drive I bought on eBay works, so that's good. So this floppy drive will get paired with computer. I was looking for a clone floppy drive to go with my clone computer. And I think this style floppy drive was popular with those Apple II clones. At least at one point, because this particular mechanism was everywhere. I'm not sure when this was made, but anyways. Yeah, it's quite a solid floppy drive. It's got some substantial weight to it. It's a non-eBay regret. It actually works. I think I can say the seller did actually test it. Or they got incredibly lucky, because it sounds great, it works, it's loading software. So that's the good thing. So we now have a floppy drive for computer. Computer's floppy controller works. Yeah, it's down to I guess the weird 0-page error we were getting during memory tests that seems to have gone away, and the RAM card that passes memory tests when I put it in the Apple IIe, but when you actually try to use it in computer, it fails. Like the card's not actually accessing memory correctly. And even actually was making addresses. Yeah, so it's like... Alright. Yeah. Well, Thomas, I think it is, or at least was. I mean, this card is branded the same as computer. I believe this card came with computer. I don't see how this card could not be compatible with computer, because computer is a clone of the Apple II Plus. Everything's the same, other than there's 3 bus transceivers that they use standard logic chips on computer that Apple used some different part number, but I think the chips were actually the same to begin with. Yeah, I'm actually thinking it's that MC 3242 chip. I'm thinking that chip is bad, because if you look, it does look like that chip is directly connected to the Apple II bus. In fact, I could actually, I could here, let me. Yeah, it's an address decoder. According to the data sheet, it's a memory address multiplexer. I really don't know what it's doing, but according to the Motorola datasheet, it's a address multiplexer and refresh counter for 16 pins, 16K dynamic RAMs that require a 128 cycle refresh. It multiplexes 14 system address bits to the 7 address pins of the memory device. Also contains a 7-bit refresh counter that is clocked externally to generate the 128 sequential addresses required for the refresh. Yeah, I think it's the multiplexer that's going to actually access the because yeah, I'm looking at the data sheet. It looks like it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 outputs. Yeah, it's got 7 outputs because there's 7 address pins on a 4116. But this card uses 4164s, but it's only accessing 16 bits at a time, which tells me on this board there must be a something that's addressing a couple more address lines, which probably some of the standard logic chips. Yeah, it looks like it's using address lines 0 through 6 as row address pins, and address 7 through 13 as column address pins. I don't know how this card is actually working. Yeah, I know there's chips on eBay. I'll order some. I just won't do it tonight. I probably won't order them until mid next week at the earliest, so that they're not I don't trying to minimize what gets delivered next week. Yeah, chip tester can't handle that part, and I don't have a way of testing it. I can't prove it's bad, but Yeah, so I think with this I'm going to call tonight's stream to a close. So, all right, so what have we done to computer? Well, not much really. I've got a floppy drive for computer, but the original Saturn clone card, it's it passes a memory test on the 2E, but it doesn't pass the Justin sanity test for what the bank LEDs are doing. I don't have a schematic for the card. I might see if I may give it another look, but not tonight because I haven't found one. I don't know if there is a schematic for the Saturn cards. The problem is, I'm fairly sure Garrett's Workshop probably has a schematic or something for this card, but it's not using that Motorola chip, so that's not going to help me debug the Saturn clone card, because this card is probably implementing the... Well, actually, probably honestly, since this card uses an SRAM, it's probably directly connecting the address bits. So it wouldn't need an address multiplexer, and then the logic chips are probably generating the upper address bits for whichever bank gets selected. So that's probably how it's implemented with standard logic chips. It doesn't need to multiplex or in order to be able to do DRAM refreshing. So it probably simplified the logic. But unfortunately, this schematic will not help me debug this card. So, yeah, thanks, Kevin. So anyways, I'll have to give another search attempt to see if anyone's has a schematic card for a Saturn card or a Saturn clone card. Even if it was a similar clone. If it was a card that was using that Motorola chip, then it's probably going to largely use a bunch of the same chips. But anyways, if I can find a schematic, then maybe we can more logically fix it. Otherwise, mid next week, I'll order some of those Motorola chips. And that'll be my last hurrah on the card. If replacing that Motorola chip doesn't fix the card, then, well, the only other option would be to replace the 74LS logic on it. But all the logic chips are testing good, so I don't know. It could just be that I don't know. I've got a couple theories if that doesn't fix it. I mean, maybe I replace the sockets on the card too. But anyways, yeah, it's progress. It's just not the progress I wanted. Anyways, okay, so next week I don't have any streams. The week after, I will probably not. Probably that Monday we will be looking at something other than computer. I think I scheduled the Pentium 4 or the Socket 4 motherboard on that Monday because I'd really like to take a look at it. So, yep, hope to see you there. Don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications so you know when I go live next. Yeah, thanks for joining me tonight. Wish we could have gotten computer fixed, but well, progress is progress. Anyways, with that, I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Thanks for joining me, hanging out in the chat, being cool, offering moral support. And with that, I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Take care, and God bless. Computerized Start is brought to you by my awesome patrons on Patreon and by your tips and memberships on Ko-fi. These and other channel supporters make my live streams possible. You too can become a channel supporter with tiers starting at just $1. Don't forget to smash that like button. And if you've liked what you've seen, subscribe and turn on notifications so that you don't miss the next video or live stream. And as always, thank you for all your support. I hope to see you next time. And until then, take care.